Hey guys, welcome back to the garage. Alright, in today's video, I'm going to be working on the 88 CRX SI project, continuing on it. I'm actually not going to do any cleaning on it because that's kind of a lost cause at this point. It's so bad, and I'm going to focus on that a little bit later. Today's video, I'm actually going to move toward the engine bay. The car doesn't have a transmission in it currently. I've got the old transmission that was thrown in the back. I'm going to show you why it's not in there, and I'll also show you what I'm going to try to get put in there to get the car drivable. But before I do that, I'm going to jump over here and I'm going to show you a couple parts that I got in that's going to be going on this car, and I think you're going to be happy with them. Alright, some of you can probably already tell what these are. These are actually the 88, 89 European spec non-VTEC seats. They're actually in really good condition. I bought these 2 or 3 months ago, and these things have been stuck in customs for so long. The shipping on them has taken forever. Luckily, I planned ahead, and I won't be needing these until the car's basically complete, because I can still use the ones that are in there. But these are in good shape. There aren't any major issues with them. There's just a few little small things. You know, the bolster's a little bit worn out here. It's kind of soft. The material is still intact though. There's a little bit of seatbelt wear up here in the corner, but it's not bad at all. Really, they're in good shape. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to try to take the covers off and clean them up, or even try to build up that bolster a little bit. That's something that I'm going to think about whether I'm going to do or not, whether it'd be worth it. Because I mean, anytime you pull the covers off of the foam, you're risking ripping it or damaging it even further. So that's a risk I may not be willing to take on them, because they're in such good shape already. Alright, the other items are actually door panels. So you may have already guessed, but these are European spec as well. These particular door panels are a little bit rare because they're the Euro spec with the suede type material up at the top. But most of those actually came with power windows and power locks, which would have a larger cutout here for the switch panel, as well as no hole cut out here for the window crank. So these are actually somewhat rare, and I got them from a guy in Belgium. These just arrived this past weekend, so I got lucky with these. We did a pretty good trade. He wanted some CRX inserts, and I wanted some new door panels because the tops of the ones that were in the car are completely trashed. And this was going to be an easier thing to do, and as well as a unique thing to do on this build here. So I'm going to be happy with these. And you may have seen these down here as well. The factory window cranks on these are actually like a dark gray. I mean, they probably wouldn't look bad if I darkened them up a little bit. You could still use them, but I ended up getting some black ones that will match the door a little bit better. You can see it looks a lot better than the gray. So I've got some black window cranks, but I still need to get the black trim piece for the door handle itself, because this is gray and it's all dry rotted, and I really don't want to try to paint these black. I may end up having to do that if I can't source any black door handle trim. So if you know where I can get some black door handle trim like this for the CRX, the manual window CRX, let me know. Drop a comment in the comments below, or send me a message, because that's something I'm going to have to get. The USDM door cup here that goes in the door panel, I can still use it. It's like a dark gray as well, but it's not going to be as noticeable as the door handle trim will be. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over on the car and get started on this transmission. you can see, the gear on this is completely stripped away and busted up and broken. This transmission could probably be cleaned up and repaired, but it's honestly not worth the time since I actually have a spare transmission out of that 89 CRX SI that I just sold, the silver build. I pulled that transmission out of it, so I've got a good transmission I'm going to use. This is an 88, so the shafts are a little bit different, so I'll have to pull off the clutch off of this motor over here, and it should be able to reuse the clutch that was on the 89 just to get this thing going for now. I may end up having to replace the clutch, depends on how it looks, but I just want to get this thing running right now. That way I can get this thing on the road. Alright, here is the transmission out of the 1989. It's still intact. I've never taken it apart. I'll probably end up cleaning this up a little bit later, but for now the goal is to actually pull off the clutch off of the car and try to get this transmission installed. It's going to have to be either resurfaced or replaced. So in the meantime, I'm just going to clean this up and get that other clutch mounted here. That way I can get this thing on the road. Alright, well, sometimes things don't go as planned. The clutch that I have that I was going to put in there, it turns out it's the same size as the one that I just pulled off. This is an 88 clutch, this is an 88 clutch. The shafts are the same size, they're small. They're meant for the 88 transmission. The 89 transmission has a little bit bigger input shaft. So I'm not going to be able to use either one of these. So I'm not going to be able to get the transmission put on in this video. So in the meantime, I'm going to jump over to another project that I'm going to show you here in a second. But right now, I'm probably going to come up with a game plan to either buy a new clutch. These probably aren't too expensive. I'll probably just end up buying a new clutch to throw in there temporarily and get this thing on the road. But let's jump over to the other project and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, as you saw, this center garnish is actually in pretty good condition. It's got just a normal wear and tear, the scuffs and scratches. The sticker's really worn out, and there's some little ripples and scratches on the paint on the actual sticker. But there's also a little crack here, and so I was doing a little bit of research on how to repair this crack. Most people don't notice that, but it's only going to get worse over time. So the research that I found was you can get some ether, and it actually will plastic weld this crack together. So what the product I'm going to use to try to get this repaired is called a Plastruct plastic weld. It's actually, the main ingredient in this stuff is let's see, methyl ethyl ketone. So it's a pretty bad stuff. You want to make sure you get the fans turned on, well ventilated when you use it. I've never used this stuff before. It seems to be pretty common in the model car world to weld little acrylics together and things like that. So I'm going to get this cleaned up right now, and then I'm going to try to blow this out and dry it up with alcohol. And then I'm going to see about getting this thing welded together, see if I can fill this crack in a little bit and get it to bond together so it's not so visible. Also, if you're interested in using this stuff or buying it, I'm going to leave a link down in the description below. I bought this on Amazon. We'll give it a shot and see how it works. Okay, I know this may be difficult to see because it's such a small crack, but I'm going to use this needle here. I'm going to dip it down in this ketone, and I'm going to just slowly drip it in this crack. And after I get the crack filled in, I'm going to hold it together, and it says to hold together for 10 to 30 seconds, and then it should be bonded together as it evaporates. So let's give this a shot. Okay, it does appear to have filled in the crack. I had to hold it a little bit longer than I thought. You can see this little bit of a milky color here. That's the stuff that has escaped. So I'm going to have to scrape that off and probably sand it down, which I plan to do anyways, and whenever I polish these this center garnish. So I'm going to give it a few more seconds, maybe a couple minutes to finish evaporating and drying up. And then I may throw another coat on it, let it seep in there a little bit, because as soon as I dipped it in there and got it on the brush and put it to the crack, it just took instantly to that crack. So I just dabbed a couple of drops on it and it filled the crack in, so I held it together until it bonded. So it looks like there's maybe another little spot here that I can bond together. So I'm going to try that, and then we'll pull the tape off and see how it looks. Alright, you can still see the crack. I mean, it did help out a little bit. It's not as visible. I think once I sand this down and polish it up, it'll be even less visible. So let's go ahead and grab the sandpaper and sand this smooth. And I'm going to go ahead and sand down the rest of this garnish and get it ready to polish up. Alright, I'm going to start out with 600 on the rough area, and then we're going to move it up to 1000 or 1500 for the rest of it. Alright, before I go ahead and sand the whole thing, I'm going to remove this stock sticker here. It's in pretty bad shape. I'm going to actually replace it with one of my OEM replica replacement stickers, and I'm going to show you what it looks like once it's all done. So I'm going to peel this off here. Alright, if you've seen my other videos, you'll know that I use the 3M Perfected compound here. It's a 36060. I'm going to use it on a yellow buffing pad, and then after that I'm going to use the Perfected Ultrafine Machine Polish 06068 to give it the last final shine. Alright, I'm just going to use these small little 3-inch buffing pad. This is kind of like a wool. I don't think it's actually wool, it's like a polyester, but it kind of simulated wool. And I'm going to start with that, see how it does. If it doesn't do that great, then I'll move back over to that yellow buffing pad. Alright, after that first step, it's looking really good. There's a couple little deeper scratches here that I'm not going to be able to get out. We're going to have to live with those. We'll clean them out afterwards and get that compound out, make them less noticeable. But overall, it's really shiny. It's going to get even shinier on this next step. Alright, our last step is going to wipe this down with alcohol, and then after that I'll be ready for the sticker. Alright, before I took that decal off, I got a measurement, and it's actually the bottom of the decal is 2 1/4 inches from the bottom line of the center garnish. So I'm going to measure up 2 1/4 inches, and I'm going to put a piece of tape across so I'll have a straight line. Alright, so that's our bottom line. And now the start of the C is actually 9 3/8 inches from the very edge. So I'm going to measure over 9 3/8. Okay, with our measurements marked, we can take our decal and peel off the backing material, and then we'll put it in place and lay it down. Well, today's video didn't quite go as planned. I was really wanting to get that transmission put on here as a stopping point, but sometimes you run into problems like that clutch. I thought I had an 89 clutch, but it ended up being an 88 that wouldn't fit. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of research and find me a clutch to get here as soon as I can. That way I can get that taken care of, because I really want to get this car on the road and driven down there to get inspected so I can get the title transferred to my name. Because I don't want to run into a problem not being able to get the title and do a bunch of work to the car. So I really want to get it in my name first before I really start digging in and doing too much work and putting in too many hours on the car. So I went ahead and just jumped over to this center garnish and this center garnish CRX decal that I had made. A lot of stickers that you have made are really just straight vinyl cutouts. So I was really looking for like an OEM replacement with like the clear vinyl with the silver actually printed on there with the specific clear vinyl cut, just like the OE style as you saw in the close-ups. And that's what I've got here. It's a clear vinyl. It's got the OE spec cut, like a die cut with the silver printed on top. So I've got a limited number of these made, and I'm selling them for $24 each shipped. So if you're interested in picking one of those up, I've already sold quite a few of them. If you're interested in it, just send me a message, or I'll leave a link down in the description for my PayPal. You just shoot $24 to me and your address, and I'll get it on its way. I think it really improved the look of this rear garnish, and any rear garnish that has a faded sticker, it's really going to help out. So give me a shout on that, and I hope you enjoyed today's video, and hopefully in the next one we're going to do a little bit a different approach to this, because I may not have the clutch in time, so we're going to jump into something else. So I'll see you next time.